Oh, that's it?
Yeah,
oh, it goes down into the left. I don't like that, so I'll just get it for you. Okay, ready? Okay, two main points today that will address directly what we just heard. First of all, the individual versus society. Why is it fine to hurt the individual in the name of the society? And then better policy in practice. Why is this better than the elections that Derek wants to have? But before that, quickly better. Okay, first of all, regarding definitions, obviously people in our society who are alive, not animals, come on, that's pretty obvious. Secondly, regarding the definition of happiness, we don't decide because everyone decides for himself. If some person derives happiness from his child's life, that's completely fine in our standards. We don't decide for someone else what defines his happiness. If someone else defines his happiness by having many cultures around him, that's also fine. Each person will decide what's happiness for him, just like today. We don't see any difference. Then they said, we are willing to defend anything. Yes, we are. We are a very courageous first government. We have no problem with that. But however, more has shown you we don't have to defend everything because some things won't happen under our policy. For example, torture. We think that in most cases, the unhappiness that torture will cause one person is so intense that will be greater than the happiness that other people will derive from it. You see, so maybe now, first off, he hates me, but even if both of them together hate me this much, my unhappiness for them physically hurting me would be greater than adding up their happiness from hurting. So maybe not doesn't. So we're taking account, notice, we're taking about both the number of individuals, but also the intensity of the happiness for each individual. Now, in some cases, torture may be permitted. For example, someone who knows where a suicide bomber is currently located. Then in this case, society will have so much happiness for finding out this case, and it will be fine to torture him, and we have no problem defending that whatsoever. But just hurting someone for hurting him sake probably won't happen because the unhappiness to cause him will be too great. Then we talk about long-term effects. We would like to say a few things. First of all, we also take into account the happiness of little children or people who live for 8 years. Obviously, for them, happiness is also in the long term and will account to what happens in the long term. However, we do agree that we don't take into account happiness of future generations. We don't think that we owe anyone for someone who isn't alive today. We think that's another invented term by environmentalists that future generations have rights. I don't see why they have rights, and I don't see how as a government that's established by the people living today and contributes to them has to owe anything to future generations who are alive today, just like we don't owe anything to other governments around us. No, thank you. Then we heard about cultural diversity. We have to say two things. If it's that important to many people, it will still exist. But in many cases, it won't. I have no problems if some languages will cease to exist. Hey, I think it will improve communication worldwide if you only had one language, and that may happen under our policy. We have no problem with that. Just saying names like torture, cultural diversity won't let you win this case. You have to explain why they are important, which we haven't heard at all in first. Okay, so let's begin with what will actually, the two arguments we're going to make. First of all, the individual versus the society. We do recognize that the individual might be hurt in the name of the society. Why is this okay? So to that we say a few things. First of all, this also happens today. People have to pay taxes, people have may have to go to the army, like in Israel, etc. But today there is a red line. Some things can't happen, what we call basic rights. So we say two things. First of all, we think some of these rights will still exist, as Mo already explained to you, because it would make people so unhappy that it would still not be a policy. But some rights will cease to exist. For example, maybe the right to property, maybe even in certain cases free speech, I don't know. So in some cases, we will hurt the individual. Why is this fine? I'm going to explain to you why is this fine by the classic line of their position. By looking at the violent ignorance, what they usually will take to show us why we are wrong. What will usually happen? It will say, if someone would like to live in a theoretical society without knowing anything about this society, he would like to know that no matter what happens to him, no matter if he's handicapped, if he's poor, if he is old, that he will get all these certain rights no matter what. What do we say to that? We say a few things. First of all, each person will choose to have his opinion taken into account. And we think that's extremely important. And that stays and still exists under our policy. Want to stop for a minute? I see the judges are distracted. Okay, I'm going to add a few seconds. So first of all, we see that still happens under our account because everyone's mind is taken. We take into account everyone. But in certain cases, people won't get what they want. People will be, the individual will be sort of sacrificed in the name of society. And why is this fine? Because we think an individual would like to live in a society where everyone does not have an option to veto every decision, which is what is happening today, which is what we're trying to change. What we're trying to change is no one will have the veto power. Why would I like to live in such a society? Because in such a society, I'll be happy to have the veto power, but no policy will be able to be promoted enough because everyone will have a veto power. And I won't like to live in a society where everyone will have a veto power. So I would rather risk that there is a mere chance that in some cases my happiness will be hurt, even though that in the extreme cases it won't happen because it hurts my happiness to such an extreme, then it will outweigh the other factors. If this means that other people also don't have a veto, and us as a society can move on and can promote policies that contribute to the greater good. Okay, now let's talk about what happens in practice. Before that, quickly.
Your side seriously can't stand up here and say, this could in theory apply to anything, but we're not willing to give you any actual examples. And whenever we mention examples, we say, oh, well, that's what we deal with.
Come on. We talked about scouting, about the houses that are currently not habited. We will let people live there. I will give you now many more concrete examples. For example, the agricultural lobby in the United States that is able to control policy. For example, the Haredim in Israel, who because of that we don't have public transportation in Shabbat, even though most people would like that and increase their happiness, that will change under our proposal. For example, the 1% in the United States that keeps getting policies that promote them, and the 99%, that will change under our proposals. Plenty of examples. I even agreed to torture in some cases. Come on, Derek. Okay, now let's talk about what happens in practice. In practice, we say a few things. First of all, why is this better than the current voting system? The current voting system gives, first of all, a lot of influence to money. We see this all the time. How does this happen? By contributions, by advertising, by connections, by lobbyists, by people who get one job in the government and then another job in a consulting firm, etc. We want to change this. We think people with less money are equal to people with more money, and we have the account taken into account equally. Second thing is, currently we vote under one subject alone. In Israel, it's usually security, in the States it's economy, and then therefore we don't take into account people's opinion on other issues, and we want to change this as well. We think happiness is a multidimensional spectrum and not only exists on one issue alone. Thirdly, in the current voting system, we have so many vetoes. For example, in the United States Senate, you can put a filibuster. Even if the majority wants something, you can put 60 Senate members against it and it doesn't pass. If it's international agreement, you need 66 majority to pass something. All of these vetoes, all of these small groups, for example in Israel, Shas, which can belong to any government and therefore has more power than what it actually represents, we want to stop them. We don't want more powerful money. We don't want people's account taken into people's opinion taken into account only on one issue, and we don't want all these veto powers. We want everyone's happiness taken into account equally starting today.